the two reasons why the US government is justifying the presence in Iraq now are one reason given to the right-wing crowd, which is security interventionism. They tell the more like right-wing or conservative crowd, they tell them, we have to be there fighting the bad, evil guys, the terrorists, because if we didn't fight them there, they will come fight us here. People go like, whoa! Now the other crowd, the left-wing crowd, there is a different marketing for the policy. So the marketing for the left-wing crowd is that if we pulled out our troops from Iraq, the sky will fall. And then Iraqis will eat each other in the street. So we have to be there for their own good. And then people actually sometimes buy them. So now, to start with the security intervention idea. Now in 2008, I find myself like I have a more easy way to talk about this issue, because in 2003 we were still theorizing about it. We were saying, maybe the US government and the US Army can go to Iraq and destroy extremism in the region and prevent Al-Qaeda from going to Iraq. In 2003 and 2004, right? Because before that, there was no Al-Qaeda, and then Al-Qaeda went. So people say, maybe they can. Now it's 2008, it's been 5 years. And while Iraqis managed for the last century or more to keep extremist organizations out of their country, to keep all of the regional and international influence outside the country, Iran, Saudi Arabia, whomever, Turkey, outside the country, the US policy failed miserably in protecting Iraq's borders during the last 5 years. So now we are not theorizing anymore. We are talking about what happened in practice. If, let's go back in time, 5 years ago, if I was saying this and someone said, let's give them 5 years to try. We did. And they failed. Not because the US Army is incompetent or like they can't or they don't know what to do. But because the reason for extremism in Iraq is the presence of the US Army. It doesn't work the other way around. People tend to become more violent and extreme when they don't find other ways to fight against foreign invaders. So extremism is increasing in Iraq because of the continuous occupation. Let me give you an example of that. Last year, there was a survey conducted by the BBC and ABC and the Japanese corporation, news corporation. And one of the questions that they asked to a big group of mixed Iraqis, Sunnis and Shiites, Arabs and Kurds, they asked them, do you support Al-Qaeda's attacks against Iraqis? 0% said yes. 0% of Sunnis and Shiites said yes. Then they asked them, do you support Al-Qaeda's attacks against the US Army? More than 50% said yes. Why? Because Iraqis in general think it's legitimate to attack the foreign occupation. So if there was a small space for Al-Qaeda to exist in Iraq and recruit Iraqis, it's because of the US presence there. If there was no foreign occupation, why would any Iraqi support the Al-Qaeda? They say they will plan for attacks and attack the US. Now, the last time I checked the world map, Iraq was 10,000 miles away. I don't really know how that works geographically. Like how the bad guy is going to jump over the border once the US comes here. Like I don't really get the logic of that. And I think that the US presence there is actually creating a safe space for extremism and violent resistance to grow. Now the second point is the point about the humanitarian intervention one. that is based on this myth that Iraqi Sunnis and Iraqi Shiites hate each other. They have this ancient hatred. And this ancient hatred will explode once the US leaves Iraq. So now, to address this, I think the first point to address is to put things in context and show that the Sunni-Shia relationship was never an issue in Iraq. There was never someone in Iraq who said, I'm a Sunni or I'm a Shia, I hate that other guy or woman because she's a Sunni or something like that. I mean, me myself, I'm half Sunni and half Shia. My father is Sunni and my mother is a Shiite. And many of my friends and family are. In fact, I discovered these things after 2003. Because before 2003, who will ask anyone like whether you are Sunni or Shia? No one knows for real. Now, the US government said, no, these things existed all along, and the former Iraqi government was a Sunni-led Ba'athist regime, a Sunni-led dictatorship. And all of the Iraqis who I know realize that this is a big lie. I mean, I couldn't really find a way to prove it until I found a good piece of evidence, which is the 55 deck of cards, the ones that the Pentagon and the State Department printed with Saddam's picture and his sons, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Now, these 55 deck of cards were the 55 top political leaders in the former Iraqi government. The US government said, once we capture or kill these 55, the former Iraqi political regime is over. And many Iraqis actually agree on that point. The 55 were the 55 top backed party officials. Now the point that the media here didn't mention it is that 36 of them were Shiites. And the two vice presidents were a Christian and a Kurd who's a Shiite. Now this is not to polish the image of the former Iraqi government or say it was inclusive and nice or anything. It was an oppressive political dictatorship, unfortunately. But it was a secular oppressive political dictatorship that destroyed anyone who opposed the government and supported anyone. I mean, if it was really a Sunni regime, why did they put 60% of the leadership Shia? If it was really acting on people's sects, you know? So, I mean, now, what's more important what was before 2003, because usually these tensions that start, they start from scratch, like Lebanon, for example. Lebanon, at one moment, it didn't have Sunnis and Shiites and Christians and these things. And then because of the foreign intervention, it cut the country into these groups. In Lebanon now, the sectarian and ethnic and religious backgrounds of people are equivalent to their political stance. If you are a Shia, you have, one type of politics or two. If you are a Christian, like it is actually working that way because of the size of destruction and civil war. I mean, Lebanon is a very sad example of how foreign intervention destroys countries. I mean, it's still a very beautiful place, which I love, but I mean, just to study how much foreigners destroyed the country continuously, it's really sad. Now in Iraq, we're not there yet. We're not there. The people's political ideas are not, the political split does not go with the sectarian or religious split. It's not like that at all, until this day. What we face now in Iraq is really similar to how the United States looked like during the US Civil War. The US Civil War wasn't a religious civil war, right? It wasn't like a racial civil war or anything. It was a political war. Now what's happening in Iraq is similar to this based on the fact that there are Sunnis and Shiites and seculars and Kurds and others who are nationalists who want to keep a central government and stop foreign intervention, the same way that there were American nationalists who wanted to keep a central government and stop